All right, our question, we said it off the top. It is about Elias Pettersson. And the question is, if Elias Pettersson, the forward, were to become an unrestricted free agent on July 1st, what contract do you think he'd sign for? Now, I need people to really understand this exercise, Harm, because we've already had some people in the chat, and we appreciate everybody in the chat that's interacting with us. But I need people to understand the question isn't if you put on a blindfold and only watched what Elias Pettersson did this past year, that was the only thing you'd seen. You took off the blindfold for just this year. Not the perfect metaphor, but you get where I'm going. I'm not asking what you would pay him if you've only watched this past season. I'm saying if Elias Pettersson, the 26-year-old, hit free agency, the 26-year-old, mind you, he has 330 goal seasons to his name, 100 plus point player. You know the resume by now, okay? If that guy, and including this past season, hit free agency on July 1st, what would he get on the open market? Yes, he's coming off a down year, but what would he get on the open market? Jacob, just cycle through some of these responses. Let's see what people said. ABC123 said 7 by 10 in a heartbeat. Colton Press said even more than what he's already signed for. Getting the UFA status always ups the amount teams will pay, and with a rising cap, it would just serve to increase it further. Sure, he had an off season, but 100-point players in their prime don't hit free agency that often. BK said 8 by 8. Tyler Lund said more than he's making right now, 100%. Young ones see it after a bad year, sure, who is also good defensively while giving up no assets other than cap space with a rising cap. 13 by 8 million easily. Obviously can't get 8 on the free agent market. It would be 13 by 7, but you get the point here. Aussie Goose said 9 million at the very most. What do you think?
Minimum $10 million player. Minimum. Like absolute lowest point, 10 million, if not more. And the reason I say that is just look at the inflation around the league when it comes to contracts. Jacob Chychrun, as of next season, is going to be a $9 million defenseman. Jacob Chychrun is a number 2-3 defenseman. He's coming off of a very good season, but he's roughly comparable to Filip Hronek. Hronek was what, 7.25? You see the jump essentially in 1 year because of how much the cap is expected to rise, where Chychrun's all of a sudden a $9 million player. You look at Matt Coronado in Calgary. He's basically Calgary's Jonathan Lekkerimäki, except he's 1 year older, where he was drafted in the middle of the first round. And he had sort of an up and down season where he produced a lot in the AHL, but didn't quite break out in the NHL. Then this past season, he broke out with 24 goals for the Flames. Young guy, he got $6.5 million on a long-term deal, and a lot of people, myself included, are looking at that as, oh, that's a pretty favorable contract because he's young, probably going to be a 30-goal scorer for a long time. But think about that: 24-goal season, and immediately he's a $6.5 million player as a winger, mind you. We're talking about Brock Besser potentially as an $8.5 million player. Even you look at centers with some outdated contracts. Pierre Dubois is an $8.5 million centerman. Bo Horvat is an $8.5 million centerman. So realistically, I would still expect Pettersson, if he hit the free agent market, to command $10.5, maybe $11 million on a max term 7-year deal.
We got a super chat here from Spatzilli. He said, slumping PD is essentially Mikael Granlund. Thank you for the super chat and the donation to the BC Mental Health Foundation. I agree with you, Harm. I agree with you. The chat is a lot more pessimistic than the Twitter folks were. But people, yeah, you have to understand that, and we don't even need to bring in the part of the exercise of where you look at the other centers available on the market. The answer is there ain't much. Who is it after Mitch Marner that's available? Like, where does it go from there? Ehlers, not really
Brock.
A center.
Sam Bennett.
Brock.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ehlers is a winger too. I thought you were just saying
Yeah.
UFA forwards in general.
Yeah, no. Sorry, centers. UFA
Like,
centers.
it's just Sam Bennett. It's Sam Bennett.
Yeah.
That's basically
And
it.
then it's guys like Tavares and Duchesne who are probably going to stay because they like where they play. Brock Nelson. It's a pretty thin crowd.
So if you bring that part of the conversation into it, that number goes up even further. And the reason I bring this up is all just to illustrate this idea that, Pettersson's a total sunk cost asset. It's like, if you let the rest of the league have their chance at signing him, it's not like people will be coming in and be like, oh, we need to see a 3-year prove-it deal at $6 million. Like, no, there would be suitors for Elias Pettersson. It makes me think about this conversation about trading him, right? And if he'd have any value around the league. I think the problem for teams becomes that they have to give up assets to bring in what would likely be for at least half the league. It would be the biggest contract in their franchise's history. I think that's where the problem kind of arises, is that a team would have to really buck up in both assets and take on some serious risk.
It's also just so rare for a player with not a 90 to 100 point potential sort of peak to ever become available. And teams are willing to roll the dice and take those risks. I mean, think about it this way. Dubois at the end of last season was coming off a brutal 40-point campaign with the LA Kings. $8.5 million times 7 years was widely viewed as one of the worst contracts in the NHL. Plus, there were character concerns because of the unceremonious way that he exited Winnipeg and Columbus. There were questions about his work ethic, commitment level. He's a quitter, this and that. And the Capitals were still willing to roll the dice on him before his NMC kicked in, knowing that, oh crap, if this doesn't work out, he's got an NMC and we're going to be stuck with him. And it's not just, oh, he's not living up to this contract on the ice, but off the ice, again, there were question marks about his attitude and character and all that. And yet, because of how tough it is to find top six centers, there was still a taker. And this is the other thing in free agency is, if we're talking about 10 to $11 million cap hit, you don't need 6 teams to buck up and offer that. You only need one. All it takes is one team to value a player significantly higher than the rest of the market for the player to get that contract.
I wonder about the Buffalo Sabres as like a trade destination, right? They've been on the wrong end of these trades so many times where they're the team giving up the best player in the trade. Like, I wonder if the Buffalo Sabres, you got to try something if you're the Sabres, right?
Yeah, and are you talking about from an actual trade perspective this summer?
Totally realistic. Like, they've been interested in Pettersson before. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, of course they have to kick tires. They have to. They've got cap space. Every year they finish like top 5 in prospect rankings. They've collected an endless number of draft picks over the years. What they need is win now help. They have a gap where they have sort of Tuck and Dahlin and Thompson as their sort of like proven core in their prime. And then they have this massive sort of gap before you get to guys that are young and haven't quite proven themselves yet, like the Owen Power sort of tier, Zach Benson, and some of their other prospects as well, Yuri Kulich, pardon me. What they need is more. What they need is more sort of players in that Thompson, Dahlin, Tuck tier that can help now. So yeah, 100%. If Pettersson is available, the Sabres should continue kicking tires. I just don't see a scenario where it would really make sense for the Canucks, to be honest with you.
And we've been on team, you got to keep them and hope for the best. We've been on that side for a while now, but I do wonder about the Sabres kicking tires.